Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. I have my cup of coffee and I've got my guest, and I'm extremely excited, as always, to be launching the Newpreneur cast, where I'll be welcoming many guests along every single week to really delve into their adventures in business, to really find out about what their first year was like, and of course, wrap it in a tidy little bow with a little topic or something during the day or during the morning, especially. It comes with great privilege, actually, that I've got my first guest with me this morning, and that is the one and only man, myth, and legend. That is Mr. Michael Melvin of Melvin Creative. Michael, how you doing?
I'm very well, Lee. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Really excited about this.
It's good fun. It's the first time I've got you to come along and join me in my little virtual square and room, really. So thank you.
No problem. You're welcome.
So let's start off, right, as we mean to go on. We chatted last week. We've got our coffees this morning. Let's really delve into this straight away. Oh, we've got Tony Gordon online with us already. So thanks, Tony, dropping your chat in there as well. And for everybody, if you're watching on LinkedIn Live and via my own YouTube channel, Lee Foster, or at Lee Foster Official, you can drop in comments in there and we'll certainly respond to them as quick as we possibly can for you as well. Michael, this is really about finding out about people's business journeys. And I know our topic for today is marketing on a shoestring.
Yeah.
Growing your brand. What was your first year like in business?
It was a real journey. I had absolutely no idea whatsoever what I was doing. So I didn't set up my own business and start working for myself because I couldn't do it. I never wanted to work for myself. I was quite happy working, getting paid, do my job, and going home at night. And the thought of actually running my own business terrified me. But circumstances, life being life, and circumstances, I found myself unemployed. I think it was like 31.
Yeah.
And it was a really strange age because of the salary demands that I had from a previous job. I was too expensive for a lot of design companies because they would take on somebody 22, 23, 24. And I also had quite a lot of experience beyond my kind of age. So I didn't really fit into a kind of advertising or design company traditional model. So I was kind of stuck in a kind of can't get a job, face didn't fit, wasn't, it just didn't kind of work for me. So I had to kind of start working for myself. As I said, I never wanted to. It wasn't a plan. And it was just like, okay, I've got to do this because I'm pretty useless at most other things. And I thought, I'm 31, I can't read. I have lots of interests, but I thought there's not many kind of things out there that I want to retrain for. It's got to be design. So that's how I ended up started working for myself. I started working with two clients, one of which was a book publisher, and Neil Wilson of Neil Wilson Publishing. He retired to France a couple of years ago. So I'd worked with him for the last 22 years the business has been going for. So I worked with him for 20 years of that time. And the other company was a company called Memex in East Kilbride, who are a security software company, and they were bought over by a big American company. So it started out with two clients, and the first year was a hard slog. I think as well, when you start up a kind of business, you have hopes of where you want to be, and you hope that phone is going to ring, and you hope that the efforts that you've made start to pay off, and people kind of get back to you, but it takes a long time. And there was days like I'd be sitting about kind of going, I've got no money coming in. I've got no kind of jobs. And it's then when you start to think, I have to really make things happen here. I can't wait for the phone to ring. I can't wait for an email to come in. I need to kind of start kind of really pushing myself and using the tools that I've learned and I've done for other clients. I need to start employing them myself to try and get kind of new clients. I certainly get just to kind of survive for that first year.
It's interesting though, Michael. I mean, I think from that perspective, we never ever decide to run a business for a living. We get told in our age group, really, Michael. I'm going to put that on the table for us anyway. When we're our age and leaving school, you were sort of forced to be pushed into a job. You were told to be in a job, bring in a salary. That's what you need to do. You didn't really think of being creative and actually thinking, I'm going to create my own business just literally when I leave school at like 18, 19 years old, or you get a career. It's usually when something happens that you actually find a niche and think, do you know what? I can do that for myself.
Yeah, I was quite lucky. So from an early age, I've always been, as a kid, I was always drawing and painting and making things. I'd entertain myself. So I think in that way, mum and dad I think it was a bit of a nightmare because I used to take things like the TV apart, the radios and stuff like that. So it was an absolute nightmare. Curiosity.
Yeah.
But I used to make things. So I was always quite creative. And I knew, as I said, I knew how to entertain myself. And that carried through school. So I was always really, really good at school. So for me, going from school to going to college to be a graphic designer, it was a small leap. It wasn't something I thought, it wasn't me changing or suddenly getting to the age of 16, 17, 18, going, I want to be a graphic designer. I knew I'd be in the art world somewhere, somehow, so it was easy for me. But once that changed from being a graphic designer and working for a company to then in the position where you're unemployed and you're having to start a business is a huge leap.
Yeah.
There was nobody there at the time. I think there was Business Gateway who you could go and see, and they ran some kind of courses, but I didn't have a support network. I didn't have friends or family who'd set up their own business. So it really had lots of questions about how to run a business, how to start it, and there weren't that many answers. So it really was trial and error. Of just kind of jumping out the frying pan into the fire. It's like I've got to make this kind of work with no experience, no understanding of business world. I didn't understand VAT, and I didn't understand tax, PAYE, all these kind of things, which are basic things when you're running a business. You've got to know. I had no idea about any of these things because I hadn't been prepared for it. Because when I worked for companies, all that was done by accounts was done by somebody. All the companies had different kind of people to do different kind of jobs. So going into it all was a lot to take on pretty much immediately. Now I think things might be a bit easier because of things are stuff on. Maybe I don't know. You'd have to ask somebody who's a lot younger than me who's starting out now. And say, what's your experience of it? But for me, there wasn't a great deal of support. I say Business Gateway. That was a bit of a mixed bag at the time because I think they had set up a new place in Buchanan Street and kind of walk-in kind of clinic type thing, and I had a bit of a mixed experience in that one.
Again, it's another thing. You get all these ideas, you get loads of people around you giving you loads of advice. I found just starting off, and you mentioned something early on there, thinking I was waiting for business to come in because you need the revenue to come in for you to pay the investment to keep growing your business. And in that first year, or even that first 6 months, you want to make a cause and impact straight away. So, and also as well, mentioning there, it's that from an investment point of view, you've got no cash in the bank, or you've paid it all to pay out all these things, that you need to try and get yourself visible out there, etc. as well. And the resources is the biggest thing, Michael, I think, in anybody just starting off, and especially as we're chatting away here now, many people forget about that. It's actually a lot of people can give you some great advice. But a lot of people out there can charge you a lot of money for the advice and you get no result back from it at all.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, this is the great thing about the age we're in now with AI. You can go into AI, you can ask it kind of many questions. It can design you a logo. They're never that great and they look like they're artificially generated. But you can use things like that. You can get your copyright, your text copywritten by AI. There's lots of things that you can do to support yourself so you don't have a lot of outgoings. When I first started, there wasn't anything. I was lucky because being a graphic designer, I could design leaflets, I could design, marketing materials for myself that I could send out. But there wasn't that many kind of free resources. Because there just wasn't. Now it's a completely different age where you can be self-sufficient. Your mobile phone is a TV studio. You can work from home. You can do everything. You can do everything you want at a PC, a laptop, on your phone. So things that I think that when you to try and publicize yourself is a lot easier than it was then because there's lots of free resources that help you do that. But again, with kind of a lot of free resources, what I have noticed is with a lot of the free resources, when people start to do things themselves, they'll look very similar to other people's things.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So a classic is high street kind of beauty, hairdressers, nail bars, places to do Botox. No, clearly, I know I'm very well informed in high street beauty kind of things, just by looking at.
I wasn't going to say anything, Michael, but yeah, you are extremely informed with that one.
So I know my kind of stuff. But if you look at them, how they brand themselves, they all look the same because they tend to all use Canva. So that's the danger of things that are free and they're easy to use. For experience, it's great to use kind of Canva and it doesn't cost you anything else, but you can end up looking like everybody else. And I think the whole point of having a business is you really want to stand out from everybody else. So that's the danger of when you have all these kind of free resources, is that you can tend to look a wee bit samey, and you tend to follow your competitors rather than stand out from them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like all the free resources are great just to give you some sort of idea of what you can do. But I would also use these things with a slight bit of caution and a wee bit of reflection, that what you're doing actually promotes your business rather than makes you look like part of 50 other businesses.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's, again, it's that point of going, we talked about this last week before you joined today as well, is looking at things that you don't break the bank, because we can look at many shiny things in the early days, need everything to promote my business, and talk about mobile phones. Actually, the phones back in our day were the size of a TV set anyway, really. So we used to go around, it was all sort of bricks that we used to hang around. If we had them, you were quite posh if you had a mobile phone back in our day. But now it's true with the handset we all have, everything, your graphic design studio, everything's actually in there. Your promotional tool, your marketing tool, everything's in there, communication, the whole shebang. But I think you kind of put a price tag on the quality of advice and guidance you get from somebody, even like yourself, importantly like yourself, that can guide people around, give a different twist on a marketing look, or someone's, as I call it, the third eye that's in there that looks at it. When you first started off with your business, right, and just vision that first 12 months, did you spend a lot of money out into marketing yourself? Did you spend a lot?
No, very, very, very little. So I used the old-fashioned thing, the telephone. I would phone up people. I know people hate getting phone calls. Yeah, that one of those kind of ones. Hello, is there somebody in the line? The party line and stuff. So I used to just phone companies. I had a list of companies that I would phone. I think it was the Yellow Pages I would use, or whatever kind of directory was around. I think Scottish Enterprise used to publish a directory. So I used to have kind of directories of companies around kind of Glasgow and Scotland. I'd phone them up, try and find out who the marketing person was. Phone again, try to speak to the marketing person and just say, listen, I don't want to bother you. I'm a graphic designer. I've just started working for myself. Would you be interested if I sent you some further information? Sometimes they go, yeah, no problem. Sometimes they, no, fine. If they said no, that's absolutely fine. If they said yes, I'd then send out a letter. I know, a letter folded up in an envelope with a stamp, and I'd send it out with a couple of business cards in it. And in that letter, I'd say, I'll give you a call next week, or I'll give you a call 2 weeks. And I kept a little kind of, a spreadsheet, and I would do that. And it was amazing how many people would kind of react to that. Just getting a letter. I think they actually felt sorry for me, because I think people do sympathize with new business owners in a lot of ways. When you think, because if you've been in business, you know how tough it is. And if you've been at the top of the kind of business and you're kind of running, you know how tough kind of things are for people kind of setting up. So I did have quite a lot of companies who say, listen, we don't have any work on, but why don't you just pop in and have a chat with us? Some of them turned into work, some didn't. But what I did find from the ones that I went to see, and I got on quite well with, they put little things, they give me the opportunity to quote for things. And that was really a lifeline. That just gave me a wee bit of, God, this might work. And it makes you, it just raises your spirit. It just makes you feel like, this isn't all kind of, I'm making a lot of effort here. It's not going to waste. Somebody out there is going to appreciate what I do. So in the first year, I didn't spend anything apart from that. Because even now, if you buy print, you buy a brochure or you buy leaflets, it's very cheap. It's so much cheaper than it was 20 odd years ago. It's about a quarter of the price. It's crazy how cheap print is now. So I couldn't even send out a brochure to people because I didn't have the money for it. I didn't have the money for, but I think it was just business cards and letterheads. That's what I had, and that was it.
I think there's a lot of people, again, for me, you've just mentioned there with like leaflets, and I use a phrase called, as the world turns more impersonal, the more personal as a business we have to become. And I think there was a day, even when I was in the travel industry, Michael, that we sent out items in the post. We talk a lot about this as like a handwritten note, or if you put a stamp on it in a handwritten envelope, someone opens it up. If it's too pre-generated, or it's just like sort of like computerized or whatever, it looks like it's going to be junk mail. It gets chucked in the B1N file, as you call it, into the bin. But if you're hand delivering something or mailing it with a handwritten on it, it's got a massive impact.
I still think there's a huge amount of value in sending somebody a letter. I think there's still value in sending something that's kind of personal through the post. Now, we lost quite a lot of that because of lockdown. 2020, people work from home, so was no point sending in letters to companies because the chances were it go to an office, the person that was intended for wouldn't pick it up because they wouldn't be there, they'd be working from home. And I don't think since then, with kind of hybrid working, people working from home and working from office, I don't think that direct kind of contact of sending something personal, people are employing it yet. And I think there's a bit of a missed opportunity there. When was the last time you received a letter from somebody that was actually it wasn't a generated thing? It was like I kind of just introducing themselves. It just doesn't happen. So I think that's the sort of thing that could work now, because it's getting away from digital marketing when everything's online, everything's in email, everything's kind of social media. I think having a bit of that kind of analog, almost kind of way of approaching companies, I think can work. Now, going back to not the first year, but after that, once I started to get some kind of money in, what I used to do was send out letters to kind of companies, but with little funny things inside them. So I don't know if you remember this. As a kid, we get lucky bags. It would be 10p or 20p or 25p, little things inside it. And if you're really lucky, you would get one of these little fortune fish, which I think you can still get. So it's a little white.
They're Christmas time then now. They're Christmas time. You get the fortune fish.
No, I remember getting them when I went to the carnival in Glasgow. I can't remember. I remember having it as a kid, and I always liked these little things because for anybody has seen them, it's a little kind of white plastic bag with red design on it. Open it up, and there's a little cellophane kind of see-through red plastic.
Yeah.
You put it in your hand, and it reacts to the heat in your hand, and curl up or twist over, and depending what motion it made, on the back of the little white bag, it'd tell you if you're passionate, if you're a cold fish, and all these kind of things. So I used to send them out on a little board with my own list of, if it flips over, it means you need to rebrand. If it does this, then you need to do this. So it was a bit of fun.
That's good.
But it got really good reactions because of the people who I'd send it to that remembered it, they would have a laugh. And I got quite a good response from that. People who hadn't seen it before still thought it was quite funny because they'd never seen this little thing before. So I get quite a lot of work. And I say not a lot. We're not talking like, Apple phoned up or Nike or one of these kind of brands. There's enough around kind of Glasgow and the surrounding areas that it really kept going and gave me a boost because it just put me on the radar. It gave somebody a laugh or made somebody chuckle a little bit and pass it around the office. So when I contacted them, they knew who I was. They remembered who I was. And that proved really kind of valuable of just getting in the door. I've done it as well with like tea bags stuck to a card and send it through. Said, well, I've done my part. Let's meet up for a tea and coffee. I'll bring the tea bags. Let's have a chat. Things like that.
Yeah.
That's been done. It's been done a million times. But I just think anything you can do doesn't cost a lot of money. That lands in somebody's desk makes the difference between you and somebody else, especially if you're saying you're a creative, which I am. So do something like that, which is a wee bit different, stands out from everybody else who might just contact. So I think now there's still a value in doing something like that, where you can put something in, find who your audience is, send something to them that'll make them laugh, or that shows that you're aware of their industry.
Yeah.
And I think because most people don't do that. Nobody, well, hardly anybody does it. I can't remember the time. I mean, I get things through the post, like a calendar and things like that from companies, but it's not funny. It's not humor. It's not like a knowing thing. It's a bit of merch.
I think it's sort of like making that sort of, I talk a lot about this, is making that lasting impression with people, but it's also a talking point. It's not just what happens to them when they receive it through the letterbox or they get handed it to them at all at an event or a meeting or one-to-one conversation. It's when they get passed it to them, they remember that feeling of when they got it. And then when they talk to somebody else later on, they went, never guess what happened to me today. I got this fish through the letterbox. A fish? Was it a live one? No, it was one of these plastic ones. Well, it was a live one. It's a different story altogether, man. That wouldn't be the best thing in the world. But if you got it that way, people go, it just makes that lasting impression with people, I think. But you're right in saying there's not many or anybody out there. I mean, you look at the stuff that comes through the letterbox these days, it's a lot less than what it used to be.
Yeah.
But in business, we're more looking at the digital side than looking at the actual spending a little bit of investment in regard to getting something sent out to your target audience. And that's another word to use as well, Mike. Do you not think it's like you've got all these great ideas, but having a target audience that you can actually focus on sending that tea bag to, or that fish to, or that letter that really makes an impact? That's important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you need know your audience, work in small kind of numbers, because there's no point saying, when I was sending out the fish or the tea bags or the biscuits stuck to something else, it was all 20 or 30 people at a time, because it was kind of manageable, and I could work out roughly what worked, what didn't work, who was I talking to, who when I spoke to remembered me, who wanted to come into the office. So it didn't cost a lot of money, and it wasn't a lot of work. So I wasn't saying that 1,000 MailChimps, I wasn't saying that 1,000 of this, 1,000. It was quite a small kind of audience who I knew were in a certain kind of sector. And I thought, okay, we'll see how this kind of works, and then refine it for the kind of next one. One of the things I did again later on, was I kind of fell into doing lots of book design. That was one of my first clients, like Neil Wilson Publishing. Did a lot of book design for him. And off of the back of that, I get noticed by other book publishers through in Glasgow, Edinburgh, and then kind of London. And I thought for a while of kind of niching as a graphic designer. So I went to one of the book publishers and I said, listen, have you got any old books that you don't want hardback books? And I got 1,000 hardback books from one of the publishers for 200 quid. And what I did was I took that hardback, the cover off, I designed my own cover and got it printed, wrapped it onto the book, and sent that to other book publishers. So what they got was a book through the post about me. So it's my biog and my CV on the back, done like a book. I can't remember what the cover was like, but I remember it was quite kind of fun, and it worked really well, because it didn't cost a lot of money. It was like, I think £2.80 packaging. So say £3 per thing, £3.20. But what it did do was it showed the other book publishers that I'm talking to them in their language. And again, I only ever sent out about 40 or 50 of the books because it worked really, really well. So I had 880 or 980 books sitting in the house for about 4 years. I think I actually built a chair out of it or something, or it became a table. So things like that, you can find inexpensive things to do. Know your audience, think about what they expect to see, send something to them small, and track how you do it. It's pretty much the same, the analog thing like that, as you would do digitally. If I send MailChimp, send it to a certain audience, what are they going to react to, what's going to appeal to them. It's the same principle across all different kind of things, whether it's sending something through the post or something's sending something digitally.
Do you know, it's also, you mentioned again there, I think that's so important. We forget about tracking it. We do it all. We don't measure and track actually what we're doing and what's working. You know, when I was in the travel industry, we did a lot of different things that stood out from the crowd. I mean, I've just noticed there's a few chats coming through, like some Emma about the fish that didn't work. And we've got Steve Lee's about sending a tea bag in the post. You can have a chat with them online, etc. Thanks for sharing that. Steve Lee's we've got on there. We've got Emma Briggs on there. We've got Carol Brett Tech on there as well. We've got Daniel Glide on there as well. So thank you for joining us, everybody. Good to see you there. Drop your questions or your feedback in the chat area as well. But when I was in the travel industry, we used to do a thing like we used to send frisbees out to people in a pizza box, and it used to have aspirin on it. And all it was like, to take your headache away from booking your next travel, come and contact us. And that, when you send that out to 10 of your existing accounts, like, you know, your account tree you've got in the travel industry, mostly bricks and mortar travel agents, when they receive that through the post, you get the phone going and ringing saying, thanks for this, Lee. You stood up in the crowd. And that is the big thing. It's standing out from the crowd that's out there and being head and shoulders above it. Just out of curiosity, right? We're just really going into this. But do you allocate, especially now, fast forward after that first year of just finding your feet and getting the name right and everything else, do you budget now for your marketing every month, or do you just do it for a year?
I don't kind of budget. I tend to see what's kind of coming up and have a look down the calendar and see if I'm going to go to events, what I need to have for events. But I mean, I do my own kind of social media. I do things like that. So I tend not to spend stuff when I don't have to.
Yeah.
So the only time I kind of spend money is, I have been caught out by a few new shiny things. I come along and I go, oh, that sounds quite good. I'll subscribe to that. That sounds great. And then 6 months later, I'm going to spend a few £100 and I've never used that new shiny thing. And then there's another new shiny. So I tend to kind of not kind of subscribe or join things unless a lot of other people have and I can see a real value. But no, I tend not to.
To not do that one itself.
I tend not to plan or like kind of budget out stuff. I just spend as I need to.
Yeah. Because your journey, your adventure in business has sort of changed in the last sort of couple of years,
Yeah.
especially now you've got an additional opportunity you're involved with, just the gin, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah.
Gin.
So
Yeah.
just casually moving to the side, you can see the kind of the three gins there.
Yeah.
So that was, I love being active and I love being involved in kind of business and I love creating things and I love thinking about different opportunities for clients. I've done that for years and years where a client will come and say, listen, we're launching a new product, we're launching a new space, we're revamping this, we're revamping that. And yes, I love doing all the graphics and supporting that. But what I really enjoy doing as well is thinking about the possibilities of that company, thinking about what can I add to that. So I'm quite good at kind of go back to clients and go, have you thought about doing it this way? Have you thought about that? And sometimes it's not an idea they've had. Sometimes it's an idea they've kind of discussed, but they've not gone with it. And then just by kind of inserting yourself into that conversation, it triggers people and they go, oh, right, okay, and a good triggers them in a good way. They go, actually, Mike's thinking about that as well. We've thought about that. There might be something in it. So the gin came about because it's my nephew's idea to set up a gin kind of business, but I saw the opportunity of going, hey, I can bring experience to this. I've done a lot of marketing with kind of clients. I've worked with great marketing people. I've worked with bad marketing people in food and drink and hospitality. Understand how it kind of works, and it was just a fun thing. I like being involved in things. I like doing things. I don't like sitting about waiting for things to happen. I like being kind of active and proactive, and that gave me a great opportunity to kind of set up the kind of gin business, which again, it's completely different from the design company, completely different from what I do in Melvin Creative. But it gets me to think in a different kind of way from Melvin Creative. It gets me to think about a product as opposed to a service. It gets me to think about how do we improve gin? How do we expand the business? Who do I need to bring in to help me get to that point? Whereas Melvin Creative is a different kind of animal. I can do most of it myself, and I bring in extra help when I need it. But again, they complement each other because a lot of what I do is giving advice to clients. But now I have to prove it with Groove because the advice I can give to clients, I'm actually going, well, I would suggest this for your brand. Now I actually get to try it on a drinks brand. So it's that tried and practicing what works in theory, actually what works in reality, what the things are, and it's all good. So all the problems and the struggles we've had with Groove and all the successes and the things that have gone right, I can then apply to Melvin Creative and go, that's an interesting way that people reacted to something. Would they do it with Melvin Creative? It just gives you more. The more you know, the more you understand how kind of things work and what customers want, whether it's business customers or people who come to events, what they're looking for, what you need to say to them, what they're really looking for, because that's with any business, you have to understand what people want and what you offer, and I get more of an insight from two sides of two different businesses.
I think it's for me, it's understanding their needs and wants and how your product or service or area would actually fit into their remit, what they're looking for. I also believe what you've done really well, and I looked at this in my early days, was word of mouth advertisement.
Yeah,
actually people talking about you without you being in the room. And I talk a lot about that. It's that cause and effect of that long lasting impression with somebody. But if it fits the mark straight away, they'll talk about. And I like what you mentioned there is walking the talk. You're actually doing it now with the gin, because you're actually doing what you do best from Melvin into the gin and proving I'm walking the talk. So what I'm talking about here is improvement. And also I think what's really important is that you can offer a service, you can offer the gift, the graphic, the eyeline, everything you've got, but giving that advice of why you're doing that for and questioning them and pushing them to make them look from a different angle, I think is so important. That is, for me, when we're looking at the breaking the bank or budgeting wise, etc., you've really taken all the boxes because you're trying to get a better back investment for them.
It shows you care as well. If you've got a client and you come back with a suggestion, there was a client the other day, I mean, I do it fairly often, who I'm working on a packaging kind of job for. He gave me a kind of brief and I was thinking about it and I got the kind of quotes together and visuals and kind of things like that. I started watching The Shield which finished 20 years ago, and I was watching a fantastic program. Anyway, part of my mind was still working out this kind of the client had asked for, and I come up with a different kind of solution. So we're looking for 2 or 3 different boxes. I went, you can actually have one box with hire, and you can put certain things in it that will raise the product, so you instead of having it a long, did it. Went back to the client, and they never thought that. Never thought of that. So they would have spent a lot of money on 3 different size
Yeah.
boxes for their product rather than one which does all 3. It takes a wee bit of time, and it's things like that. I've saved them a lot of money. But also, if there was a reason why they had to have 3 boxes, they're still going to appreciate the fact that I've thought about them. And I said, listen, why don't you try it this way? That doesn't cost a lot of money. That's a really easy, marketing on a budget. Go to your clients and give some suggestions. Have you thought about doing it this way? Have you looked at this? Or I've done it with clients. I've seen this. I've seen this result happening for somebody else. Do you think that could work for you? Times people go, yeah, love it. Other times, no. But you've made the effort. You show you care.
Yeah.
People appreciate that. People, especially if it's their own business, it's their own baby. They've built a business up. They might be the 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, 10th year, whatever. But you're showing care for them. And that means a lot. I like it when people come to me and they do the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought about this could just work for you. And you go, God, you're actually thinking about the kind of business. And it might not be, and again, I'm not all the time trying to generate business for me. I'll sometimes say to clients, here's an idea that somebody else can do the work for you. But I've seen this other person's work, or I've seen what they're working in a new kind of area. This might work for you. And I'll be happy to kind of do the connection. And if it works, great. Everybody's happy. It's just being aware of clients. It's being aware of what can you do out with your job to help other kind of businesses.
I think it from that perspective as well, it's showing that you're looking after their reputation, Michael. There's many businesses out there just want to sell that product, get that service in, then charge them a revenue, charge them a fee. That's what it's going to cost you instead of investment wise, right? But there's other people like yourself are looking to protect their reputation because you took a vested interest of thinking, well, I'm providing something here for this individual, but also I respect their reputation and what they're trying to do with it. I'll give testament where testament's due. I mean, you very kindly looked at the branding for this cast. And you put me in a spacesuit at one point, but that was good fun with that one. I did actually enjoy that one.
I think there's a missed opportunity. But I like doing things like that. There's a problem. It's like, obviously, we're talking about the kind of branding for this event.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's fun to be involved in things. It's fun to kind of show what you can do, and it's a reciprocal thing. So you obviously know what I can do for you, and then we can work together on different kind of projects. I've brought people to the networking events, and things kind of work like that. And that's how collaborations work. And that's, again, an easy, free marketing thing. One of the things I put down to my success, especially the past few years, was when lockdown happened. Very difficult for a lot of people. For me, it completely changed the business in a really positive way because everything went online. I was really comfortable being online doing kind of networking, whereas face to face, I'm quite quiet. So I'd go into rooms and I'd shrink and I'd be like Mr. Awkward. Online, it's a completely different kind of animal. What helped as well was being baldy, having a big grey beard, because I think at one point it was down to here. So networking events, I would stand out. I would be the person that the host would go, and we've got such and such here. Look at that beard. So the beard actually should have had its own Instagram kind of page and stuff like that. It's far more interesting than the rest of me. But again, it was very interesting. People remembered me because of the kind of beard. And this beard generated me money. It really did. It was quite kind of weird how it happened. People recognized me for that. And so when they were looking for something on LinkedIn, or they were trying to remember who we were, the amount of people would go, it was a visual connection. And then I get somebody a year down the line of having met them, a year and a half, saying, I need a logo, or can you help me out, or I need a brochure, or I need some advice on something. So I think being visible really, really helps. I was lucky that I was quite visible, but as well, I think you have to. And it doesn't cost anything. If you go to events, I think you should make an effort. Ask a question of the host. Find out who the host is. Find if it's somebody doing a presentation, ask questions, because everybody loves being asked questions, because it makes them feel great, doesn't it? People ask you a question about what you do, and you feel a wee bit, people are interested in what I'm doing. So doing that, and I was genuinely interested in people, you start to get remembered. you start to get remembered, and people put kind of two and two together and go, that's the guy who did that, that's what he looks like, and things like that. So just being visible at events is huge.
I think it should be invisible in general. I mean, I remember when lockdown kicked in and we transferred into a virtual world. You know, this wasn't existing at the time. What we're doing now, having a chat online, it's going live on LinkedIn, it's on part of a YouTube channel, etc. as well. And you know, we're hosting online. I mean, I was chatting to someone last week from Florida, and then I jumped off a call and I was talking to somebody in the Netherlands. So you never think of doing that before until we're doing that now. But that is, and also with the communication tools we have now, looking at that budget, you know, people think, oh, you can spend a fortune making phone calls. No, because if you set up the right system, you can do it for nothing on Google Meets and many other systems that you've got there, Zoom, Restreams, various different pieces that you can actually do. But it's that thing that you just mentioned there is being visible. Visible regularly. I mean, the thing that was said to me when I was younger, and I still say it now, is if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. You know, why should anybody give you any business if you're selling a product, a service, anything at all? If nobody sees you, you haven't built your reputation up, you're not putting confidence or trust in for them as well, and you're not regularly being visible at a time when people see the beer, they say, oh, that's Michael Melvin, and oh, he's in the room with us today. I saw him online the other week. I had a one-to-one with him.
He's back. Can't get away from the guy.
I just pops up every now and again. Oh,
it's him again. But I learned my mistake from lockdown. I'd started to do networking just before lockdown. Bear in mind, the business is now almost 22 years old. When I first had the business, I didn't know anybody. I think Business Gateway had said this word networking. I was like, no idea what it actually entails. And I was invited along to the Chamber of Commerce. And it was quite a nice event. Went along and I was just completely out of my depth.
Yeah.
I went along thinking, I'm a graphic designer. Everybody needs a graphic designer in their life. I'm just going to make so much money. I walked into the room. I'll talk to a few people. I'll hand out some business cards and I'll just wait for that phone to ring. And I went along and I was trying to do the sales kind of pitch really, really badly. I was quite quiet, quite nervous. Just talking a lot of kind of nonsense. And people were actually talking to each other as friends, as human beings. And I was going, this isn't what I thought this was going to be like. And I hated it. And I remember the kind of next few days later, I was kind of going, it's funny, you know, I've not had any phone calls yet. I've not had any phone calls. Naively assuming just by turning up that, you know, I'm going to have floods of work, that people are going to go, well, that guy there, we need to give him work. And I went to a second one, I think the second one, and I was like, I gave up. I was like, this doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work. You know, 19 years later, lockdown, and I realized, you know, it's stupidly, that's not about just turn up a couple of times in your pitch. It's got nothing to do with it. It really, really doesn't. People really aren't interested in your pitch as such. They might understand what you do, but it's really when they start talking to you and they're familiar with you and that. So for me, I wish somebody had told me that all those years ago.
Yeah.
I wish somebody had told me, but there wasn't. As I said, now you could go on, everything's online. There's LinkedIn, go on LinkedIn, there's loads of kind of people you connect with. It's completely changed what it's used for now. There's loads of kind of networking groups. There's loads of ways of one business meeting another. And it's a lot easier now to find those other kind of businesses. We started back, it was going to Chamber of Commerce and kind of handing out business cards and hope for the best, because I had no idea. There was nobody told me anything.
You see, I'll again, going back before I did this, I was involved in the travel industry before I created my own business. And in part of that travel industry, you went to travel events and you just worked within your travel industry. Travel agents, various different big tour groups or big travel agent companies across the whole of the UK and further afield. That was my networking as such then. The learning of the chambers and everything else was in my first year of business, of learning about these networking groups that met up and had teas and coffees. And I don't mind saying it, Michael, it's exactly what you just said there. People sold to the room. That's what they did. They sell to the room, and they just did they call it the elevator pitch, which has its place.
Yeah.
Has its place if you've got a captured audience who's looking at your product and service. You give them the elevator pitch to get them excited and they're ready to buy at the end. We used to do that in the travel industry, you know, sell them a tour. And by the end of it, you go, it's X, Y, and Z. Your deposit's due now. If you want to book it, come and join us this afternoon. We've got 5 spaces available into that way. But yeah, networking is more me. I'm always on my soapbox, Michael. It's about being in great conversations, looking at the long-term opportunity of galvanizing that business relationship up with somebody and really taking the time to get to know people really well, because that is the art of it. It's not rocket science. It's just getting to know people. We've known each other for nearly, it's probably been about 6 years now, I think, really.
It was we first met. It was after lockdown.
It was after lockdown. That's right. Well, actually, 4 years. 4 years.
I'd say about 80% of the businesses I have now that I work with, maybe a bit higher, are from from lockdown onwards.
Yeah.
But again, it's that whole thing. I've kind of been. I mean, I'm really, really lucky, and I do get quite a lot of word of mouth referrals, and that's a testament. And I've got to be honest, that's a testament to a few things. I'm not the most expensive graphic designer on the planet. I help people out. I'm friendly. I make things easy, and people appreciate that. And go away and they have a good experience, and that's what it's all your reputation. Everything's about your reputation, and so forth. That somebody will say to another person, and then they'll come back, and the business kind of gets big. I'm almost quite amazed when people do refer me to other people, because it's such. They don't have to. People don't have to do it. Most of the time, they're not looking for anything out of it. It's just a goodwill, and there's a huge amount of goodwill in kind of business. It's just getting in the right kind of groups and talking to the right people and who are kind of like-minded and who'll do that for you, who will make the effort to refer you, or will hear in a conversation that somebody's looking for something and think, I know the kind of right person. I really appreciate that. And it's a huge part of my kind of business. It's really nice that people do that because they don't have to.
I think it's right though. It's making the effort.
Yeah.
There's so many people, respectively mean this, is that many people show the effort but don't follow through with the effort.
Yes.
And it's showing the effort and really understanding what that effort takes to get to that stage. And it's been in for I always say there's many people out there who will show a good game, but then the effort doesn't happen afterwards. Got to be an investment of afterwards. And we're talking today about, marketing on a shoestring, and how to grow your brand. That is the best way, is just getting in front of the right people and chatting to them. And you've shared some great sort of creative ways to really help your budget. And especially when I was looking on the chat there, I know Daniel Glide said he loved the shiny things in his early stage of his business as well. And it's, one is just put on there as a LinkedIn user, hasn't got a name next to it, but put on there, I gave away free books. You talked about books. So you give away a free book when someone, as a marketing tool. Or I think this is even better, or just a chapter. That's a really good creative way. Just like you could probably do that with just one chapter.
Yeah, just give people a little taster of who you are. I think especially with when people come to you for a service, they might look at you on LinkedIn, they might be on Facebook, they might listen to your podcast, they might come to you from multiple different channels before they actually and it might take months before they get in touch. It's important to kind of track people, but it's important to be on all the kind of right kind of platforms, because sometimes you need that. You need a kind of a presence across lots of different platforms. You need to be visible in networking group. You need all these things so that people kind of have awareness of who you are and are comfortable kind of coming to you, because especially if it's a small business, it's money that's coming out of their pocket for to pay you for a particular service. Maybe paying the prisoner. Bigger companies don't care so much. Bigger companies have a budget, and if they lose a bit of money or things don't go right, no kind of big deal. They've got lots of people to manage it. With a small business, you really have to be careful who you deal with. So things like free chapters and that are a really good way of just that little introduction, a little icebreaker, where people can get a bit more of a sense of who you are, what you're about, and it gives them a bit of confidence to come back to you. One of the great things that I've used is Google reviews. Now, I've got about 25 5-star reviews. I think for every 3 or 4 clients I work with, I'll remember to ask one to put in a Google review. When it hit about 18 or 19, maybe possibly 20, I started to get phone calls, 1 or 2 a week, from people who did an internet search and look, graphic designers in Glasgow or whatever it was, Glasgow design, printers in Glasgow, whatever it was, the kind of terms were. And it's quite interesting. It now equates to 1 or 2 leads, cold leads, people phoning up that I've never met before. There's no referral, nothing like that. That in itself is a really, really interesting thing. And I thought, okay, so get those reviews in, get those 5-star reviews in, because there's definitely a point where it ticks over into Google promoting you. Now, to give you context, my website hasn't been touched since 2018. It's one of these kind of ongoing things I keep on talking about. I'm going to have to update it, and I've got loads and loads of new jobs and loads of kind of stuff to put on it. I'm busy with the gin, I'm busy with Melvin Creative, I'm doing other things as well. It's not a major necessity because it still generates work, but it's interesting to see that just something like Google reviews, not a huge amount of people who are giving you five stars, seems to have ticks a box, and it starts to generate things, and that's a dead easy thing to do. You ask clients to give you a review, and hopefully give you a 5-star review. It's not very good if they give you any less or a 1. Delete that one. But it doesn't take long to do. Have an email, send it to clients, but it does generate work. It definitely does.
I think that's, again, it's one of those things people forget about doing. I mean, I've started doing that recently myself, is that every sort of session that I do, I always ask, can you go to my Google page and would you mind leaving me a Google review? Someone did last week, and all I did was quite simple to do this. For content wise, I got a nice little template organized, topped and tailed it, and literally put the review straight slap bang in the middle and give a shout out to the connection who left that for me.
Yeah.
And I started doing that sporadically now and again, just dropping them in every few weeks. But it doesn't take 2 minutes. I said, can you just leave me a small little snippet? And sometimes, Michael, even the 4-star ones, you go, okay, what can I do to improve? And what was I missing? It may be something you just haven't ticked the box on, but they're also really good for good feedback to grow your business.
I've never had a 4-star review.
Neither have I. Sorry, neither have I.
5 stars for me.
That's a good point. And also, again, joking aside on that, there's also LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, you can leave testimonials on there, and that's so easy to send out to people to get them. So yeah, I think, but also I believe with Google, make sure that you have got the right sort of title, the company name in there, the tag that people can find you through Google, and how you can share that. I've really embraced that more than ever over the past sort of 12. That's a great little discussion point there, Michael, with that one. But definitely promote everything with them. Get it out on all your social media platforms.
You don't know what things you're going to do, because algorithms change, and Google and Meta and all these kind of companies, they change what they do all the time. So there's no harm in promoting yourself as much as possible, because you don't know what you're doing now actually might be the foundation of something really, really good for you down the line, because you don't know how things are kind of going to change and what relevance and what importance the big platforms put on something you're doing now. I think it's just getting into that kind of the consistency and the routine of doing things. That if you know, you've got all these free assets, you've got AI, you've got Canva, you've got all MailChimp, you've got all these free things here. Make the most of it. Optimize your time. Get in a routine, and publish things consistently. But as we said, way at the start, track your response. There's no point just doing things just because you think you should be doing them.
Yeah.
If you put out a post on Insta and you get no likes, then people aren't interested. It's the wrong audience, it's the wrong platform. You're not saying the right thing. You're not saying something of interest. Find a platform that works for you, or change what you're doing or the manner that you're presenting it.
Definitely.
I mean, a lot of stuff that I do will be brochures for companies where they've had the same brochure for 3 or 4 years. It's the same content in the new one, but they just want it changed. And it's a success because it's new, it's different, it's fresh. So a lot of things that we do, we tend to kind of slavishly follow our same kind of path for a long time. Don't be afraid to kind of mix it up. You've got the tools there to do it. You've got all these free assets. You've got all these things that are there. Change things and see how things kind of work for you, because you can always change it back.
Of course you can.
People, I think, kind of get a wee mindset of it's the medium, not the message.
Yeah.
And you have to get that. It's got to be you've got to look at things and kind of change things around.
But it's also it's again, just wrapping up on this now. It is the tracking and measuring and see what's working well and what isn't working well, and adapting to it and making it. You get your own unique stamp that you put out there from you individually. Yeah. You know, you are the person that's putting the stuff out there as well, and you can manage that quite comfortably. Yeah. Michael, thank you so much.
No problem. You're very welcome.
Oh, that was okay. That was all right. It's fine. If you do get the chance, everybody, I've been putting just at the bottom, you've noticed I've been promoting Michael's LinkedIn page. So if you get the chance, please go to Michael Melvin on LinkedIn, or you can message myself and I'll ping you over or share his contact details to you as well. Connect up, start the conversation, book a time with Michael, have a chat as well. I think there's some creative ideas for you to be having. If you're just stuck in that corner or just thinking, how do I break through the ceiling or getting my personal brand out there and building my reputation up, I think Michael is the person to go and speak to take you to the next level as well. Michael, thanks very much.
No problem. So I was just thinking there.
Yeah.
Just talking like earlier, like me used to send like tea bags and the little fortune fish and things like that. I was just thinking, obviously part of your branding is behind you is the jigsaw piece.
Yeah.
Have you ever done something with a jigsaw or a jigsaw piece to send out to people who might?
I nearly did years ago. So me and you need to have a conversation after today to do a wee little gift giveaway or something as a jigsaw piece. And I think I would love to work on that project with you, Michael.
So I think what you could do, nobody tell.
Don't say a word to anybody, by the way. Keep it really quiet. We are live, by the way, so don't say anything.
You can get companies who can produce like one-off jigsaw pieces. What if you had 25 jigsaw pieces with people's names on it, and you sent them out, and you said you and everybody comes together and they make it a little jigsaw thing, just as a wee invitation to people just to come along. We thought you'd be like, and these are the other people together. We think collectively you could make a nice kind of power team type thing.
Well, let's keep that under wraps, and we'll not tell anybody, and we'll have a chat about that afterwards. How does that sound to you?
Sorted.
That's great. Thank you to everybody who's been watching and listening today. By all means, please feel free, if you haven't done so already, register or subscribe to the hashtag or handle at Lee Foster Official, the YouTube channel. Every week, I'm going to be welcoming many of my guests along, and next week, we're back with you all at 11 o'clock in the morning. I'll be welcoming my next guest along, but check out my socials, connect on LinkedIn, sign up to the YouTube channel, and you'll be notified who that special person is going to be next week. So thanks again to everybody. Thanks to Michael Melvin. We wish you all the very best for the day ahead, and have a great weekend when it arrives. Take care, everybody. Ta-da for now.